unfiltered truth and facts on a variety of health-related topics. And I'm happy to introduce Lior and this segment to the Nemos News Network. Welcome, Lior.
Hi, John. I appreciate having me on. So, unfiltered truth, what a foreign concept right now, and is so much needed in this environment and chaos and man-created chaos, fear that is designed to rob us of our freedom, both economically and the assault on the temple of our freedom, which is our body. So the misinformation that is flooding is coming from every direction and changing daily. So you started the show with a clip of Bill Gates. And really, for those that are not aware of it, I encourage every single person to do their own independent research on what is Agenda 2030 is all about. And that was pre-planned since 2015, when the UN introduced a 17-point utopia plan, so to speak, in quotation mark, a global utopia. And in order to accomplish those 17 points, or at least the 14 out of the 17, that can be done by implementing mandatory global vaccination on every human being on Earth. And I really pause and ponder how they're going to achieve it and why. But if you really want the why, it's simple. Follow the money trail, and you'll get all the answers. And the answer is in the big pharma $60 billion annual industry in 2020, which is going to double in a couple of years. And that has to do with vaccinations. So this is being pushed upon us by the establishment, by the World Health Organization, which is funded by the big pharma. And in the helm of it, fighting against the status quo and trying to shift the paradigms are the courageous physicians that are typically integrative physicians swimming against the current. So today we have very important guests that are going to share this platform with us and shed some very unfiltered light of what's going on in their respective areas. We have Dr. Lodi that is in Thailand, we have Dr. Cheng in China, and we have Dr. Goodyear that is in Arizona. So welcome, everyone. I appreciate your input. And let's start shifting the paradigm. And it starts with unfiltered truth and bringing knowledge. Knowledge is power. What you learn, you cannot unlearn. And then we can make informative decisions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lior. Look, as we know in the Nemos News Network world, that this pandemic is about people control, population control, forced testing, forced vaccinations, and our panel of doctors are going to be revealing some very, very important and valuable truths. What I'd like to do very quickly so we can then dive into the materials, I'm going to briefly introduce all three doctors, and then we'll launch with Dr. Lodi from Thailand. Dr. Lodi is the founder of Oasis of Healing and Oasis International. Dr. Lodi is licensed as a homeopathic medical doctor, an MDH, in the state of Arizona, and is licensed as an allopathic medical doctor, an MD, in the state of New York, and serves on many prestigious boards. Dr. Lodi sought and discovered more effective and less toxic cancer therapies by training around the world, from Japan to Europe to Mexico, and now presently in the beautiful country of Thailand. He'll be joining us in just a moment. We also have joining us today an Oasis of Healing. Dr. Goodyear has practiced integrative medicine since 2006 and is a fellow in functional and regenerative medicine and currently serves as the medical director at the Integrative Cancer Healing Center, an Oasis of Healing in Arizona founded by Dr. Thomas Lodi, and serves on many prestigious boards. Dr. Goodyear is a published author of 2 books and is a fellow in functional and regenerative medicine who served on the board of the American Functional Medicine Association. So that's 2 of our 3 doctors. Also joining us, so we've got one Dr. Lodi joining us from Thailand, Dr. Goodyear joining us from Arizona, and we have Dr. Cheng is joining us from Shanghai, China. Dr. Cheng is a fellow and board-certified anti-aging physician by the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and a fellow and board-certified in integrative cancer therapy. Dr. Cheng had served in the U.S. Army as a commissioned officer and Army physician and as medical staff fellow at the National Cancer Institute of Health in Maryland in hematology and pathology. Dr. Cheng is the current Associate Director of the clinical trials in China for COVID-19 and has been instrumental in working closely with medical and government authorities to facilitate at least 3 of the clinical 4 vitamin C for COVID-19 studies in China. This really is an incredible show. And before we launch right into let's launch into our doctors right now, and we'll visit with Dr. Lodi from Thailand, and I will turn the interview process in part over to our co-host, Lior Sher. Welcome, sir. Welcome, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So Dr. Lodi, I'd like to begin with the current chaos and the demonstrations that are happening globally. Everyone is scared. No one has the right information. The fake information keeps changing on a daily basis. And we're under a global lockdown, debilitated by failing, collapsing economy and fear to our health. And so I'd like to know what is going on in Thailand today.
Well, sadly, none of this is being translated into Thai. So we're not, the people here are completely in the dark, except for those who speak English. There's enough of them that speak English. I work with one really amazing doctor in Bangkok, and he's aware of all these things. But the masses have no idea. They all believe the rhetoric, the continually changing rhetoric. But here I am. I'm in Phuket, which is one of the provinces, and the hospitals are empty. There's really nothing happening here. There's not a lot happening in Thailand at all. And the people are not protesting. What they're protesting against is, as you pointed out, is not anything to do with the virus, but the economic damage that's being done. I mean, all of these people who are very poor, and if they don't work today, they don't eat today, they don't have jobs. And the government is giving them 5,000 baht a month, which is like $150 or something like that. It's really not, it's not enough. So that's the tragedy. I hope we can get some of these things translated into Thai, because this information is essential. And Thailand is a good friend of China. It's sitting in the heart of Asia. Everyone comes here. It's a medical tourism location. It needs to be awake. And I'm going to try to wake it up. I'm doing webinars with Thai doctors, and we're going to begin I'm having everything translated, so hopefully I can help wake up the people here.
Well, and waking up is the key word here, because, as I said, it all begins with knowledge. Knowledge is power, and we're being controlled because it's an old adage: control the masses by divide and conquer, them false facts, false news, false information, instill fear, and steal their freedom. And so you have been in integrative practice for at least a couple of decades, treating chronic and acute conditions with alternative therapies, in particularly cancer therapies. And from my perspective, what I'm seeing today and what the public doesn't understand, that treating a chronic condition and an acute condition such as the current virus, is not that much difference, because it all translates to the state of our immune system. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree 1,000% on that. In fact, when I look at the immune response to cancer and I look at the immune response to a virus, they're basically the same thing. The same immune responses occur. It has to do with cytokines, and then it has to do with the innate immune system waking up and instructing the adaptive immune system. And then what we see happening with the virus is that you wind up getting what's called a cytokine storm, which is an overactive hyper response to this virus. And then also the other thing to keep in mind is that the condition, the basic pathology that's occurring in the lungs and around the body from this virus also occurs from other things such as 5G and EMF. And we actually know the mechanisms now. We actually know that EMF and 5G can actually poison the voltage-gated calcium channels, which allows a whole cascade of intracellular oxidative products that stimulate IL-1, then IL-18, and sets up an entire cytokine storm. So all of this is the same, and so we have to treat them the same. So the effective therapies that we have with cancer are working with this virus, and of course they do. And the third aspect of our program involves waking up systematically the immune system.
Right. And it's all connected because what you touched upon, and maybe it was a little bit in more medical terms, so translating into a layman terms, we're talking about the strength of our immune system. And it has to do, you talked about EMF, you talked about 5G, it has to do with blood flow, it has to do with oxygen to our cells and mitochondrial activity. And so when we suppress it, instead of optimizing it, we are more susceptible to viruses or chronic conditions because it stems out of chronic inflammation. And so getting back to that Agenda 2030, it is something that started years and years ago. Although the UN implemented the program in 2015, it's been long in the making. We can go back to the GMOs that were introduced in 1942. In 1994, and changed life as we knew it. And those that control the seed controls life. And people at this time, majority of the population doesn't even recognize the difference between organic to non-organic food, or the damage that GMOs does to our system, the leaky gut syndrome, and the chronic inflammation that leads to compromised immune system, and then therefore susceptibility to viruses and chronic conditions. So I really applaud all of you, Dr. Lodi and Dr. Goodyear and Dr. Cheng, for standing against the current, because the conventional, the allopathic community perceives us as nutcases, for lack of a better word. And I train physicians globally every day. The misinformation is vast, and the misconception and the way we are being perceived by the establishment, as I said, are as quackery, and that additional studies need to be performed. Now, talking about studies, let's talk about one of the protocols that you're instituting in the Oasis of Healing is high-dose vitamin C. And in the last several weeks, I've been talking about it intensely with various guests, including Dr. Cheng from China, because vitamin C cannot be manufactured by our body, and we cannot have optimal function of any organ in our body without sufficient doses of it, which need to be supplemented either via oral administration or in acute and chronic conditions with IV in very high doses. And you have been utilizing this protocol for quite a while, based on the original works of Dr. Plenner and Dr. Cathcart. And my understanding that you've used up to 300 grams a day on your cancer patients. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes. As a matter of fact, we're looking at what I've learned about vitamin C and other type therapies is that we don't really know the proper dosage and the proper frequency. So what we're doing is we're doing in our different centers, doing different protocols. So for example, just like with pharmacokinetics, when you give a drug, you do a loading dose to get you up to a therapeutic level, and then you do a maintenance dose. So we've been loading with 50 grams of vitamin C in 30 minutes, and then we can get the plasma ascorbate levels up to therapeutic, where they're having a pro-oxidant effect. They can actually kill viruses, kill cancer, and then we can maintain it with 25 grams per hour for perhaps 2 or 3 or 4 hours, and then down to 12.5 or 15 grams per hour. And my thought is that if we could keep a continuous IV, 24 hours, 7 days a week, for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, I think that would be all we need. Because when you look at what vitamin C does, it's amazing. It works on 4 different levels to kill cancer. Only one of them is the pro-oxidant. But even lower doses actually are picked up by a specific receptor, DHA, which is a metabolite of vitamin C. It's picked up, and the cancer cell, it takes it in, and then the cancer cell becomes exhausted. It uses the little bit of antioxidant enzymes it has, and then it's exhausted and wasted. So, I mean, there are many, many ways of doing it. So we need to find, I think, as a group, as a world, we need to get physicians together and try different protocols and find out what is the most effective way to give this miracle of nature, vitamin C.
And this is a great point, and that was the entire objective of the Vitamin C International Consortium Institute, is to apply this kind of knowledge and experience of tens of thousands of cases that have been obviously treated since the beginning of 1940s, share the information and put everybody on the same wavelength. And I appreciate that information, and I would like to invite Dr. Goodyear at this time to share what is being currently done and the study that he's been involved in Africa with respect to high-dose vitamin C, and why this particular trial is so pivotal and important and different than anything that's been done to date.
I'd just like to ask the Dr. Lodi a question, Lior, and then we'll bring on Dr. Goodyear. Thank you. This is very brief. Dr. Lodi and I spoke briefly to our audience here off air. I've lived in Thailand for 2 years and would be going back, as I normally do frequently, but I'm unable to travel, as we all know. I'm curious, and I know Phuket well, how many deaths are in Phuket? How many infections? What's the numbers look like, and what do you see happening?
There's close to 200 infected people that have been confirmed by PCR, and 0 deaths. So it's really not a big deal. The hospitals are pretty much empty here. And yet we are being locked down as if it was, the Contagion movie.
Unbelievable.
So
well, you know what, folks that are watching our show, what Dr. Lodi has reported, we see that happening in pockets of the U.S. This is happening all over the world. 20-second comment, Lior, and take it from there, please. You know, as Fauci and Birx and Big Pharma and the WHO are now step by step, strategically, by our brilliant president, are now being exposed, it provides voice and opportunity for brave and brilliant doctors that we're listening to on this show to get the truth out there. We're changing the narrative. I want to thank everybody for your brave and brilliant work. Sorry, Lior. Allow me to chime in after each doctor briefly, because I love to engage, but please take us forward.
I love your comments. I appreciate your input very much. This is so important, that the work that we're doing, because I can't emphasize enough how we are being perceived by the establishment. As I said, we take an enormous leap of faith, so to speak, to do what we believe in for the benefit of the patient, and the patients come first. Medicine is supposed to do first no harm, but the conventional medicine is focused, as Dr. Goodyear mentioned before, on profits. And as an entrepreneur, I always tend to say, if the value that I bring to the recipient is greater than I bring to myself, then I've done something amazing. But the big pharma sees it the other way around. And so we're here to shift that paradigm. And that cannot be done single-handedly. We need to come together as physicians that can get on board with accepted, safe, and established protocols, educating each other, and then educate the public so they can make informed decisions when they seek a provider. It starts with that. So once again, thank you. Let's bring Dr. Goodyear. Would love to share with our viewers the important work that is being currently done once again on COVID-19 and high-dose vitamin C.
Understand just a little bit of background, because Dr. Lodi touched on it. You know, you don't want to get cancer. That's the first thing. But if cancer happens, the answer is the immune system. The body's inherent ability to heal is there. We just have to tap into that. And the common connection between cancer and the inflammatory storm and the damage that's done with with COVID-19 is the immune system. In cancer, the immune system is dysfunctional and suppressed just as it is in part in COVID-19 pneumonia. There are other parts that are exaggerated, and that's the inflammatory cytokine storm. So what Dr. Lodi and I have done is take the concept that he's been working on for years with vitamin C, the bolus and the continuous treatment, and taken that plus the antimalarial therapy, artesunate, both of these being natural and both of these being lower cost, and applying those in a country in Africa. Again, this is preliminary and this process is moving forward, but using it in a way that would allow us to, number one, reduce hospitalization, improve recovery, reduce ICU, and hopefully reduce mortality, as other studies and work have been done by those like Dr. Cheng. So you got to give kudos to those that have really paved the way, Dr. Lodi, Dr. Cheng, and what we're doing here is we're just taking that to another step.
Right. But once again, because there is so much misconception, I think it's important to explain to our viewers that for the several decades since these protocols have been utilized, and as I mentioned before, on tens of thousands of patients in very high doses, are you aware of any side effect associated with high-dose vitamin C therapy?
Yeah, there's no therapy, no matter how natural, that is completely devoid of symptoms. I mean, you can eat food that's not food and get side effects. So, hamburgers or whatever. But, vitamin C at high dose has proven to be very, very safe. The only issue you have to be concerned about is people that have significant renal compromise, so they have prior renal disease, or maybe certain kind of kidney stones. I know that there are people out there that advocate that there are no risk with kidney stones with high-dose vitamin C, but there is. So we use this on a daily basis with very, very sick individuals, unfortunately, and have tremendous results and tremendous tolerability.
Okay, once again, thank you. You talking about high dose, and you mentioned that nothing is devoid of side effects, but it's important to qualify them as significant side effects. And when I'm talking about significant side effects, there is a difference between someone feeling temporarily nauseous to something that has potentially lifelong ramifications. Does vitamin C have any kind of immunosuppressant qualities that are long-term, negative side effects?
No, in fact, the immune system is a complex balance, if you will. And vitamin C has actually been shown to stimulate a certain part of the immune system called the innate immunity. That's kind of your hand-to-hand combat part of your immune system, your army and your Marines. More specifically, T cells, cytotoxic T lymphocytes, natural killer cells. So vitamin C has actually been shown to increase not only these number, but their activity and their maturity and their targeting. But it also increased what's called dendritic cells, which these are kind of the generals. So you increase your generals, you increase your army, you increase your Marines. You're really increasing your body's immune system's assault against things like the COVID-19 and then against things like cancer. But what it also does at the same time, and that's the beauty of the body, is that the high-dose vitamin C, here we're talking about up to 300 grams, it will actually reduce the cytokine storm that's a part of the damage that the COVID-19 pneumonia induces in the lungs. So one of the diagnostic criteria of cytokine storm is an elevated interleukin-6. And in both cancer and in viral pneumonia, looking at high-dose vitamin C, and then, of course, with conjunction with artesunate, which is what we're doing in the study, both of those have been shown to reduce interleukin-6. That is a marker of cytokine storm. So it's improving the immunity's attack against cancer, and it's reducing the collateral damage of the immune system, just disruption that's causing the damage of the lungs and most likely leading to the mortality of most patients with the COVID-19, as a recent preliminary finding posted out of China, where they showed that 8 out of 11 patients with COVID-19 pneumonia actually had cytokine storm.
Right, and talking about cytokine storms and their ramifications on the different organs and especially lungs with this type of a virus. Obviously, as you mentioned, there's been a study that's been published by Dr. Merrick and Dr. Alpha Fowler that has been involved in it, that has proven clinical efficacy in getting the patients earlier off the ventilators and shortening their hospital stay when high-dose vitamin C was part of the protocol. However, what they referred in their studies as high doses didn't actually range between 6 to 24 grams a day, whereas Dr. Lodi mentioned that you start a patient with 50 and then you infuse them with 25 grams or 15 grams an hour around the clock in order to maintain a certain ascorbate level, a vitamin C level in the blood plasma in order to achieve efficacy. Once again, we touched upon the fact that you didn't have any significant side effects with this protocol. And in the current study that you are running in Africa, you suggest that the daily dosage, I believe, would be 150 grams. How did you arrive to that? Why didn't we start with a lower dose or started with a high dose as 300?
Yeah, and Dr. Cheng has actually kind of touched on this one step at a time. What we're doing is we're climbing a Mount Everest here. We're affronting an industry that thinks that vitamin C is just good for oranges. But taking from what's been done in the past, and when we presented it to the council, the health ministers of health of this country, and the president, the idea of high dose vitamin C obviously really freaked them out. And so in the process of discussing with them about the dosing of 300 grams in our clinic, this study particularly is designed for 150 grams to basically give us that next step to be able to expand into the higher doses, 250, 300 grams, but also to expand beyond just the treatment of the COVID-19 pneumonia, other pneumonias, malaria, cancer, obviously, because that's what we do on a day in and day out basis with Oasis of Healing and Oasis International via Dr. Lodi. So it's helping us to get that next step, to add to the literature, to add to the science, to grow the pool of physicians that are open and understanding and knowledgeable in this area, and that it is a very safe therapy. Everybody's talking about chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, and some of the cardiovascular side effects. We knew those to begin with. That's not a surprise. Vitamin C, yeah, none.
I appreciate it. Again, we're fighting the same battle on the forefront of integrative medicine, and it continues. So my hope for this dire situation from this man-created fake, chaos, that we can actually get to a positive place of bringing everyone on board, of understanding and acceptance, and expanding the research and education and applying it properly to patient care. So I appreciate all that you're doing, and I would like to at this time to bring Dr. Cheng and
I just
Lauren,
would like, this is John. Thank you, Lior. I just want to ask Dr. Goodyear a question before we bring on Dr. Cheng in Shanghai, China. Dr. Goodyear in Arizona, maybe a bit off topic, but I think it's really not. I'm curious to know, because I'm learning a lot listening to the type of work you do, approaching human health. What do you think about software developers advising the world on health-related matters? People like Bill Gates, for example.
Yeah. When I come to work, I recognize I'm a physician, and my job is to heal people and to teach people how to heal. Bill Gates, he's not a doctor. He's not a politician. So I'm not sure where he gets off thinking that that's his role, other than he has money. I think we all need to understand our purpose, our place, speaking truth. I think what's being driven here is by money and by control through fear. I don't think that what's being done here is in the best interest of the people, in the countries of the people. We're going to see much more carnage and much more damage to lives than you could ever possibly see, unfortunately, with this virus. When you look at the annual death of cancer here in the U.S. via 2020 numbers, it's over 600,000. Currently, at least last night, it was 47,000 deaths, almost 48 of COVID-19. Now, one death of any type is too much, but putting things in perspective, I think really provides a good idea of what's really going on here. COVID-19 worldwide, 187,000. 10 million deaths from cancer worldwide. So there does seem to be an agenda that seems to be out of touch with what's really going on here with medicine. And in fact, when you look at Birch's comments from Monday, I believe it was in the press conference, she actually let the cat out of the bag. She said that this is the hypothesis that we're working under. So what she did just admitted was that they're guessing. They're guessing. They are running an experiment based on the modeling. Okay, modeling is just a new type of poll, which is meant to steer opinion, but they're steering fear so as to control people through, through these press conferences, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx. They're conducting an experiment on us by closing down our economy.
They sure are. Thank you. Very interesting and insightful answers. Listen, my summary on that is very simple. If you develop software, go do that. Integrative medical doctors educate, inform, and help people with their health. Thank you very much, Dr. Goodyear.
John, thank you. And on this note, I would like just to say on this note that I definitely know I'm one of those people that know what I know and what I don't know. I try to learn more about what I don't know, but don't pretend to be an expert necessarily in that field. Certainly, I am not a physician, but I work with physicians daily. And my focus with software developer was to avail that truth, because the truth is what is so much needed at this time, and an unfiltered, uncensored platform. And having said that and touched upon what Dr. Goodyear and yourself just mentioned, I would like and encourage everyone to visit pollsunfiltered.com and download the free app and provide us your feedback on these topics and conversations that we're bringing to light on these shows. This is a platform that will talk regularly about issues as such as mandated vaccinations or Agenda 2030 and cancer care and other political and non-political issues. So having said that, once again, let's bring on Dr. Cheng and discover and learn more about the work that he's been involved in China at this time. Hi, Dr. Cheng.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming back. And again, I know that you have been involved for years and years in integrative healthcare and integrative oncology. And at this time, you're in China addressing COVID-19 and high-dose vitamin C directly with the Chinese government and the authorities. And you were very instrumental in implementing at least 3 clinical trials for that purpose. So please give us a little bit of a background and on those studies. And once again, just highlight why those particular dosages that you use for these protocols.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me back, John and Lior. And it wasn't long ago that I was here. Actually, like you in the introduction, I'm more interested in the anti-aging and also in the anti-cancer therapy, like the Dr. Lodi and Dr. Goodyear mentioned. And we also use high-dose vitamin C in the cancer therapy and somewhat lower dose in the anti-aging therapy. And, I'm not a virologist or epidemiologist. I don't use vitamin C treating infectious diseases often, sometimes. But anyway, this time what happened was because of the COVID-19 broke out, and I knew about the vitamin C's effects in infectious diseases. So that's how I started calling for basically educating the leadership, physicians, and whoever, make those decisions about vitamin C. And also I reach out to other people. And there are a few doctors who are knowledgeable about vitamin C in China here as well. And that's how we got started, and I think I did help a little bit, hopefully. And in reality is that there are, a couple of clinical trials, clinical treatments directly using high-dose vitamin C here that happened. And some of the clinical trials I was involved directly in the design, but not all of them. And I get a feeling from here in China, and also some physicians Lior mentioned earlier in the academia back in the United States. I commend to them they are brave enough to use high-dose vitamin C. For example, Dr. Merrick has been using a couple of grams of vitamin C a day. Dr. Follows used maybe 20-some grams. And here in China, the highest, they've been using 10 to 24 grams, not to my liking. I like higher doses. And, they are brave to start using these doses. However, they're still on the considered. And, I had this discussion with Dr. Merrick one time, and he mentioned about, we know cytokine storm is the key pathology underlying COVID-19 infection. And not only COVID-19, as I think Dr. Lodi mentioned about, and both of them mentioned earlier, the key pathology leading to morbidity and mortality of COVID-19 and the SARS, MERS, and other viral and toxic diseases practically the same. All these pathogens cause significantly sudden release of radicals or significantly elevated oxidative stress, which is a common pathology causing damage, secondary damage. This is common, and this is actually a good treatment target. But the question was, when you have very high doses of C, because we know vitamin C is a redox molecule, it is an antioxidant, but it can also act as a pro-oxidant by producing or involved in the production of hydrogen peroxide. But to my knowledge, I haven't read any side effects or pro-oxidant or oxidative stress related side effects of vitamin C. So I think that's a little bit too cautious. And I would prefer, seeing, for example, COVID-19 treatment, my starting dose would be 30 to 60 grams range and individualized, So, and that's my take on the dosage. Lior.
Thank you. From your perspective, and you now heard where, both from Dr. Lodi and Dr. Goodyear about the work that they have been doing, and obviously you've been involved in the studies in China. I know that currently there are other protocols being utilized in clinical studies in Europe, both in Spain and Italy, with respect to high-dose IVC, in conjunction also with other therapies, such as ozone therapy. But what would you like to see come out of this situation? Because we finally, after 80 years of cover-up and conspiracy to basically make it not available even to anyone, or even to explore and understand this therapy, what would you like to see come out of this?
That's a very good point, Lior, and also John touched upon earlier, and as well as Dr. Goodyear. Here is one thing, is that about vaccines, and how, first of all, let's talk about epidemics, and I think on the previous I talked about this too, is that there appears to be a rise in epidemics and the pandemics, and in the 21st century, just 20 years into 21st century, we have already seen 60-some epidemics and pandemics worldwide. That's average more than 3 per year. And in the 200 years before, the 19th and 20th century, on the website, you can find, particularly in Wikipedia and the FDA, the CDC and the WHO, you will see there are a total of 90-some epidemics and pandemics in the 200 years before us, before 21st century. So in the 20 years, 60 some, and 200 years before was nearly 100. We definitely see an increase, a trend of increasing epidemics. That's number one. Number two, there also appears to be an increased new viral or new pathogen epidemics. According to a recent BBC article, there appears to be 4 times more new viral infections or epidemics and pandemics. Now that's very disturbing to me because I didn't know. Again, the infectious disease doctor, and I thought the infectious disease is on the decline. But looks like, as far as epidemics is concerned, it is on the rise. Now, this is bothering me. Why? Now, think about vaccine. Vaccine is only effective in preventing a recurrent epidemic. New viral epidemics, for example, the SARS of 17 years, MERS of 8 years, and now COVID-19, and lots of, Marburg, Ebola, Zika viral, epidemics in between. For any new viral or other pathogenic outbreak, vaccines are only in reaction to these new ones because they are new. We don't know anything about it. For example, COVID-19, when the virus came out and we started studying it, and so you design a vaccine. You have to put through clinical trials to make sure it's effective and safe. Then go through mass production, as the earlier segment of Bill Gates was talking about. So this whole process takes a long time. I don't know how long, but it looks like from the website, on the average, maybe at least 2-3 years. And recently, I've been reading on website to see how long can we have a vaccine. I wish we have a vaccine today. I wish we had a vaccine anti-COVID-19 4 months ago. So we could have stopped the COVID-19, before it got started. I wish we have one today, but we don't. And on the website, it looks like the best estimate is at least actually more like a year and a half to 2 years. Now, coming back to look at COVID-19. In short, 4 months, about 4 months now, before, starting from when we found out about COVID-19, it's been only 4 months. We already have, more than hundreds of thousands of people died. And the economic damage is probably multiples of the $1 trillion. It's a lot of money, okay? And I can't imagine if this situation continues another year or a year and a half, okay? So on the one hand, we have an increasing trend of epidemics and pandemics. And now in the 21st century, we are seeing more than 3 episodes on average per year. And the COVID-19 is hurting us right now, and another epidemic will hit us again before we know it. That's only a matter of time. Now, what are we going to do? What are we going to do today in COVID-19, and what are we going to do in the future? Waiting for vaccine? We're talking about COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 virus being an RNA virus. It's easy to mutate. Even if we are able to develop a vaccine, which is in question right now, okay, then the damage will be done. So in the future, are we going to wait for it? No, I don't think so. As a leader in the country of a government, as leaders in the industry, in medicine, in science, I don't think that's a good strategy to wait for vaccines to come. And I think that's only part of the solution. More, I believe, we should look for ways that are effective, that are safe, that are readily available when something happens, we have it already. And also, there has to be non-specific and universal. We can't wait until an epidemic breaks out and then we research, because that takes a long time. So the way I see it is that integrative medicine measures, including vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium. Basically, we have to have a good immune system. We talked about a lot in this segment. We have a lot of these natural defense mechanisms, particularly including vitamin C, that are able to kill off the viruses and defend us from getting these diseases, or minimize or reduce the severity of these diseases. So to answer your question, Lior, what I want, hopefully we get out of this COVID-19 is that we as together, okay, we are in this thing together, whether you're in the industry or government, because it's hurting everybody, is that we should realize the shortcomings of vaccine strategy, okay? And also, I'm not against vaccine. I wish we have a vaccine, like I said. I wish we had a vaccine 4 months ago, but we don't, again, okay? I can't wait for another year and a half to see this. And I don't want to, a few years later, we have another epidemic or pandemic outbreak, and we have to wait again. Okay, if we don't change the mentality, this is going to happen again. So again, coming back is I wish we would learn that we do have these measures that are effective, that are safe, that are readily available, that are inexpensive, and that are universal, non-specific. And vitamin C, vitamin D, and these are the way to do it. This is part of the solution. That's what I want to say.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cheng. I've got to wrap up our show. It's been an incredibly informative program. Before we move on to 60-second closing comments from our other two doctors, and then Lior will take us out of the segment, I just want a last comment from Dr. Cheng. I want to just mention what you said, Dr. Cheng, about your analysis of the pandemics rising over the centuries. That's very concerning and very telling. And to close out in 60 seconds, can you answer for me, what type of results are you presently achieving in Shanghai, China, treating those with COVID-19?
Again, high dose vitamin C treatment definitely. Let me say the preliminary results show from both Shanghai and Wuhan that the high dose vitamin C in only about 10 to 24 grams is able to reduce the inflammation, is able to improve patients' outcome, and able to reduce the mortality, able to cut down the ICU stay and the hospital stay. And of course, these are preliminary results combined with the historical results on high dose vitamin C, on pneumonia, on ARDS, and this is all consistent with the historical results. And one other thing I didn't mention is that actually in Wuhan, vitamin C powder has been distributed to healthcare providers in major cities, in major hospitals in Wuhan. This is something we didn't know about until recently when I was talking to the principal investigator of the world's first IVC trial. And I sincerely believe, again, combined with the historical knowledge of oral vitamin C in its prevention and reducing the severity of viral infections, I think it's also in line with the expectation. And that's what we're seeing here.
Wow. I have to tell our viewers to rewind that and listen to those very powerful closing statements from Dr. Cheng with regards to what's gone on in Wuhan and some successful treatment of COVID-19 in China with sodium ascorbate vitamin C. Let's go to Dr. Lior, if you're still with us, Doctor, for a 60-second closing comments. I appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
Dr. Lodi?
Yeah, Lodi. What I just wanted to say about vaccines, it's something very important to understand, is that we have seen recently in Boston over the last decade or so, outbreak of mumps, outbreaks of measles. And when we look at who's having the outbreaks, it's those who were vaccinated, okay? If you got the actual disease and you developed a natural immunity, then you're immune for life. If you got the vaccine, you got it to one specific virus, and you're immune for 6 months, 9 months. They've looked at the flu vaccine, and they see the same thing. 195 million flu vaccines have been given since October to January of this year, and we still saw 35 to 50 million infections. So it doesn't work, and it only works for what happened last year. So this year there's going to be a new one. But when you get the actual infection, then you develop a more broad immunity. And since this is not a very dangerous virus, and we know that the people at risk are a certain group over 65, over 80, and they're compromised, we should segregate them and let the rest of the people develop what is called herd immunity. They won't get sick, and then they can go to work, keep the economy going. And these people here, we take care of them, we give them vitamin C, we do whatever we're going to do, and we keep them safe. That would be a sane way, that would be a practical way, and that would be a real way to stop this thing, okay? A vaccine is going to come out with one specific virus, and that one's going to change next year. So they're really useless, okay? So that's what I wanted to get that out, because it's very important. What we have done by shutting down the economy actually makes no sense.
Absolutely. Complete agreement. And my apologies, Dr. Lodi. Thank you for mispronouncing your name. And look, Common Sense Solutions from our U.S. doctor in beautiful Thailand, Kapku Krup. And Gongji Fatai to our good doctor in China. And let us close out 60-second comment from our good doctor Goodyear here in beautiful Arizona.
Thank you for the platform for truth, because that's what we need more of. And like our president, who is somebody that's always looking on the positive side, the hope side, I believe that out of really the tragedies that are happening throughout the world in shutting down the economies, people losing their lives, I think we're going to see the birth of new hope. We're going to see actually a birth of a new medicine that is going to put people as the focus, not profits, not industry, not even government, but people. And I really think that vitamin C and other natural therapies are going to bring us through this paradigm shift that is going to restore medicine to what it was intended to be from the very beginning.
Great words. Thank you, Dr. Goodyear. I couldn't agree more. This is a global awakening. This is a paradigm shift of consciousness. There's no question about that. And voices like yours and the other great doctors in Lior are very, very important. I want to thank you for being with us. Lior, would you please take us out of our segment? And thank you all very much.
Thank you. Once again, I would like to thank all our guests today that brought this enlightening information. And as Dr. Goodyear just finished off, it's all about truth, hope, and unfiltered light. And there is so much light to bring and highlight the issues that were discussed today. I would like to continue this conversation on the efficacy or the lack thereof of vaccines, about the risks associated with it, and the real cover-up agenda. I mean, the potentially current crises is just the cover-up for much bigger issues that we need to discuss in future shows. So thank you very much for all of you today.
Thank you, Lior. Great segment, great guest. We appreciate everything you're doing. Visit pollsunfiltered.com. Have some fun with that. Get aboard Unfiltered Truth. The polls are coming out each week. Visit Polls Unfiltered. I want to thank you very much, Lior. Thank the great doctors once again, and I'll be right back.
There was a time when I had my head in the sand. Then I found